share, recipe share. Share a little recipe with recipe share. Recipe share, recipe share. Share a little recipe with recipe share.
Hello and welcome to, or thank you for joining us for this episode of Recipe Share, a program on AADL TV where we take a few minutes to talk about recipes in a featured category. Today's category is Will It Salad. I'm Elizabeth, and as usual, I'm joined today by Beth and Katie to tell us about their recipes. So Beth, why don't you tell us if it worked out to salad for you?
Well, this sure did. I'd had this jar of giardiniera that I made a couple of months ago, and I'd been meaning to make a muffaletta sandwich, but it turns out you can make a muffaletta salad, and that's what I made. So it's way easier to eat than a sandwich, by the way. I got this recipe and I just went and flipped off of it. SpicySouthernKitchen.com. So yeah, I was just prompted by the giardiniera and thought maybe there's a muffaletta salad out there. So it just included romaine lettuce, a celery stalk chopped, a red bell pepper seeded and chopped, half a red onion. I used just a regular onion. And I don't think it was a full half. 4 ounces of sliced salami. I believe I used about 6 ounces, and soppressata, 4 ounces of that. It was maybe around that much. Mortadella, I didn't find any. 4 ounces of sliced provolone, chopped. The giardiniera, drained and chopped. Half a cup of Kalamata olives. And then she used 6 to 8 pepperoncini for finely chopped, plus extra for garnish. I had banana peppers, and then a couple tablespoons of shredded Parmesan, and a simple red wine vinaigrette with red wine, olive oil, garlic, dried basil, and oregano. You mix it all together. I have a picture, and it was very good. I have to say, I didn't really care for my giardiniera yeah, I don't think I put clove in it. There was some, maybe it's just the sugar, whatever. I'm not making it anymore. But I would definitely buy a jar and make it again. Kurt really liked it. And it's, like I said, way easier than trying to eat a sandwich, which ends up being like eating a salad sometimes when it all falls out, right? So yeah, it's saladed. It did.
That sounds so good to me. As you know, I love muffaletta, and it's so true. Those sandwiches are so hard to eat. They're a pain in the butt. I feel like I would make them more, except it's just like so messy. This is the perfect solution. Sounds
Yeah.
delicious. I can't wait to make this.
Yeah, you'll love it. You will love it. So good.
Yeah, it sounds really nice and bright and tangy, and I just love that idea too. I've never I've never put together a muffaletta sandwich because it does seem like complicated, right? So this sounds a lot easier. I definitely think I could tackle this. And I think my husband would really like this. So I think I will make
I
it.
would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is good because it's a meal, right? Because of the onion
Yes.
and the cheese.
Yeah.
It's not a side salad.
Right.
So that's kind of nice sometimes to
Yeah. I think we had some soup. Yeah, we had
Oh,
soup.
sure.
I'm not going to tell you what kind, but yeah, it worked out. We just happened to have that soup with us, so it was good and definitely a meal, kind of akin to a taco salad, but minus the bread. So yeah. So Katie, did yours salad?
Well, it
Whatever.
sure did. So mine went well as well. I got my recipe from this cookbook called Sobra Mesa. I took this out from the library. It's a pretty new cookbook, so if you haven't checked it out already, you should. It's very beautiful, and I've actually checked it out twice now because I really like it. So, the recipe that I found from that cookbook is called Ensalada de Pico de Gallo. So, while I know it's not a stretch to turn pico de gallo into a salad, it's not something that I'd ever considered before. and I love pico de gallo. So when I saw the recipe, I definitely wanted to give it a try. And when I came upon this recipe, I was in the middle of summer, flush with tomatoes and peppers. So it was just like a perfect time to do this. So you start out with a bunch of tomatoes. You can use any variety, big, small, different colors, whatever. The large ones you cut into slices, small ones half or quarter them and arrange them on a platter. And then you make your topping. And so she kind of makes the topping like right on top of the tomatoes and then mixes them all together. But I wanted my tomatoes to stay where they were on my platter. And so I made the topping in a separate bowl and then drizzled it on top. So it's sliced jalapenos, sliced scallions, diced red onion, cilantro, lime juice, olive oil. She adds a drizzle of agave or honey. I didn't add that because I suspected I wouldn't want that extra sweetness. And I was right. For me, I didn't want that. And then some salt and pepper. And then just mix all that together and let it sit for like 5 minutes to get the flavors all melded. And then you know, if it's mixed with your tomatoes, you're all set. But for me, I drizzled it on top of the tomatoes. And then you add a little bit more of chopped jalapeno, some olive oil if you want to, if it needs it, and then a little bit more cilantro, and you serve it. So that's how I made it the first couple times I made this, and I've got a picture of that. It's beautiful and so tasty and fresh, and I just loved the flavor of pico in a salad. It was awesome. But I was thinking about this salad this week. We were having big salad night last night for dinner, and I didn't really want a salad like lettuce based. I had been thinking about this recipe since I was going to share it, and so I wanted to make this, but I no longer have any fresh peppers. I just have a few garden tomatoes left over. So I was like, well, this is a good opportunity to use those up. But I do have pickled peppers that we salvaged from the garden before the frost. And so I decided to use those instead. It's a variety of pickled peppers. There were some jalapenos in there, but mostly like some weird stuff like Mad Hatters and Limos and just like varieties that we pulled out of the garden all mixed together. Use that instead of the fresh peppers. And then I knew it was going to be a little bit spicier. So I also added some goat cheese crumbles on top of this to cut that. And that, my goodness, was so excellent. I really enjoyed it. I ate every bite. And this will definitely be in my tomato recipe repertoire in the future.
What a great idea. I love pico. I often like make it and then want to be eating it just a tiny spoonful. So, and it looks, I bet, I can't wait to see your photo because I'm picturing like height of summer, placing that on the table with the gorgeous tomatoes. And I'm so excited to give that a try too.
Yeah, that sounds good. At first, when you first said it, I thought you said enchilada, but you said ensalada.
Enchilada.
So it threw me off for a second. But what do you use for your pickling? Is
Ooh, you know,
it like a big process?
no, it's not. And Andy
Okay.
asked me yesterday as I was talking about this if I wanted him to share with me his pickling recipe. And I was like, no, I don't need it. So, but now I will include it since you asked. I think it's just like vinegar. There's some sugar, brown sugar. I'm not entirely sure because Andy does most of our pickling, but I'll include it with the recipe on the node when we share these on the website.
Okay, and was it a quick pickle type deal?
Yeah, we
Okay,
don't do like the
Yeah,
whole canning process. It's a quick pickle. It sits out on the counter for a couple hours and then you throw it in the fridge and it's good in like 3 days.
Gotcha. All right, cool. That sounds really, really tasty.
So good.
Thank you.
All right, Elizabeth, did it salad?
It did salad. So I initially saw the idea for this salad on TikTok. This is for a baked salad is what it's called. I'll get into the recipe, but it's basically a squash and kale is the base, but everything's baked. I saw it on TikTok. I thought I saved it. Of course, I go back last week. I'm ready to make it. I can't find the video. So I'm like, all right. So I found a different recipe for the same thing on the internet that seemed very close. I think there was a slight difference because I remember The one I saw had some shallot, like baked shallot in there too. This one didn't, but this recipe is what I ended up using and it worked out fine. So this is from Serious Eats. It's called Make Ahead Roasted Squash and Kale Salad with spiced nuts, cranberries, and maple. Of course, you know me, so I had to make a few modifications, but this is basically what you do. So you preheat your oven to 400 degrees, you take a butternut squash, you trim and peel it, cut it into chunks, and put it in the oven. Oh, olive oil, salt, pepper, the usual. Put it in the oven and bake it until it's done, and you just set it aside. Meanwhile, you're picking the leaves off some kale, and you put it into a large bowl, drizzle with some olive oil, salt, and pepper, give it a little bit of a massage, and then transfer that to a foil lined baking sheet and bake the kale as well until it gets kind of crispy. So that was like 10 to 12 minutes for me. Came out looking really good. So then, so those are your two main things. So then you take some pecans and you're going to combine cinnamon, paprika, nutmeg, cloves, cayenne pepper, and some brown sugar in a bowl. Add the nuts and a little bit of olive oil, toss them, and then throw those in the oven and bake those till they're a little bit tender. So I just took the kale out, used the same baking sheet for the nuts, put those in. Those came out great. So then you make your dressing. So you're gonna there is a shallot in this, it's just not baked. So you have a finely chopped shallot, a little bit of maple syrup, some whole grain mustard, and red wine vinegar. And then you whisk it and slowly drizzle in olive oil. I never know if that matters, the like slow drizzle in. For me, I usually am like, you know what, here, and then I all whisk it, but I'm just telling you what it says. Salt and pepper. And then you add everything together in a bowl. So you have your crispy baked kale, your baked squash, your nuts. It called for cranberries. I do not like dried cranberries. I use dried cherries. I know they're more expensive, but I like them better. And then it did not call for cheese, but it's me, so I did some crumbled goat cheese on top. And then basically it says that the dressed salad can be stored in the refrigerator for up to 5 days. I don't know about this. That seemed like it would get soggy. I did not do the storing, but what I did do is I made it in the afternoon, did put it in the fridge for a few hours, and then gently warmed it up a little bit, and honestly in the microwave before serving. And then I did the goat cheese. So I held the goat cheese back, and that was fine. So that was kind of nice for a holiday meal. You don't have to be doing it right then. I think you could make it, a few hours in advance and then it would be ready for dinner. You also didn't really need to warm it up, but I did want that. I did want it to be at least like kind of warm for me. So it was really good. Definitely a longer process if you're looking for like a quick salad. That's not this, but I really liked the idea of the baked situation. I think kale can sometimes be kind of hard. Like you really have to massage it if you're doing the raw kale, and that can get tedious. And I know some people think it's kind of rough on your stomach. So this was kind of a nice way to use that as a base. And I have a photo. It looks nice. It is baked, so the colors aren't quite as bright, but all good. And those nuts were super delicious. Those pecans with those spices and a little bit of sugar. That was really nice. So I'd make it again. I may make it for the holidays, and it's saladed. It baked and it's saladed.
Yeah, those nuts sound amazing. When you were describing all the spices on those, I was like, wow, that alone sounds incredible. So my question is that when you put it in the fridge for a little bit, did the kale retain its crispiness?
It did. I mean, again, I find it hard to believe that it would for the alleged
Sure.
5 days,
Yes.
but a few hours, and I didn't super heavily dress it. That was my other tip. I didn't feel like it needed it with
Mhm.
all the flavors. So I did a pretty light drizzle, just kind of tossed it and then let it be. So it did, at least for, the 4 hours that I had it in there. I don't know, even overnight, I don't know, but yes, it did for the afternoon.
That's great. It sounds like an awesome holiday salad. Like, and not typical. So that's very cool.
Yeah. Not what you consider a salad, but yeah, it sounds really good. And you know what? It also reminds me of um, some tacos I may have shared a while back. It was sweet potato and kale tacos from Reed Drummond.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and so it is like a kale chippy kind of thing, and it does retain it. Like I can remember for leftovers of that, it's still a little crunchy. So yeah, that sounds really great. And I've got the ingredients. Now I have a whole butternut squash. And so h- how do you peel
I,
them?
how do you peel it? Well, I cut off the ends and then it kind of stands up, and then I run the knife along the side and it comes off
Okay.
in strips. So I be a little careful, but once you cut the bottom off and it can stand, then that's what
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
I don't, so
Okay.
yeah,
It's so easy to buy it already cut.
I know.
Oh, anyway.
They're on sale now. I got a giant butternut squash just the other day at Kroger for like the whole thing. It was like, $2. And I was like, yes,
Yeah,
it's
very
that time.
good. All right, cool.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. I'm glad we all met with success. Send thank you to our viewers for watching Recipe Share, and be sure to click the link below to look at the event page on aadl.org to find the recipes we talked about, and feel free to share your own in the comments. Join us next time and we'll be talking about hidden vegetables. We're looking forward to seeing what you've been making, so thanks for sharing.
Recipe share, recipe share, share a little recipe with Recipe Share.